Okay, welcome everyone. I want to continue discussing the distinction and similarities between tibbles and data frames that we work with in R. So just recall tibbles, these are kind of the fundamental data structure in the tidyverse that we're working with. Data frames are like the fundamental structure for storing data in R. And tibbles are kind of like a modern reimagining of data frames. And more or less, you can think of tibbles as enhanced data frames. And any function that takes a data frame in R typically is going to allow tibble as an input as well. So you might not even notice a difference when you're working with a tibble or a data frame unless you look under the hood. But I do want to point out a couple of subtle differences now between tibbles and data frames. But when you're working in the tidyverse, tibbles are super nice. So it is preferable that you work with your data stored in a tibble as opposed to a data frame to get the full functionality of the tidyverse and the packages in the tidyverse. But one distinction between data frames and tibbles is how we can extract columns from a data frame or a tibble by matching the variable names. So I'm going to construct a very small data frame just to illustrate this point. So let's consider a data frame that I call data F that has one column of numbers 1 through 4, one column of letters 1 through 4. And let's print that out. Sorry, this should be a data frame. And we can see here we've got 4 observations, 2 variables. The first variable numbers is an integer 1, 2, 3, 4. The second variable letters is a character A, B, C, D. Okay, great. And if I start, let's say I want to extract the second variable letters. So we can use the $ operator here, right? And say data frame name, which is data F, $. And I actually don't need to type out the full variable name. I can type LET, and this is just a partial match of the variable name. And since there is no other variable name that in this data set that begins with LET, it knows that this is the only match that the only variable that could complete that name. So it printed out the vector A, B, C, D corresponding to the only column that began with those 3 letters. And let's see what would happen if I had a tibble. So here we could create a data frame from scratch with the data frame function. I can create a tibble from scratch with the tibble function, which is in the tidyverse package. So as long as I've installed the tidyverse universe here, so this is in all of the tidyverse, there is a package within the tidyverse called tibble. So as long as I've got the tibble package installed, I can run this function called tibble to create a tibble from scratch. And I'm going to create a same looking data frame as the one above. The first variable is an integer that we call numbers, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4. The second variable is a character that we call letters, and it has A, B, C, D as the 4 observations. You can see here that it's being stored as a tibble as opposed to a data frame. So we can see that from the output of the structure command. Great. And if I try doing a partial match of this variable name, so if I try doing tibble $LET, I get a warning. So the tibbles they are more cautious with their warnings is what I will say overall. So you'll get more warning messages when you're working with tibbles. And this is generally a good thing, just because it will help catch errors in your code and just help your code work more functionally overall. But there is a little bit more flexibility working with data frames. It allows you partial matching with variable names. Tibbles, that's not the case. You need to match them exactly over here. So here I could extract off the last column as a vector using this same kind of convention with the dollar sign, but I need to match the variable name exactly. Okay, thanks everybody.